Hello everybody, it is Toby from Toby's WonderShare and we're doing yet another 10-minute challenge today. So the point of these is a really quick line and wash challenge. Often I use one of my Unipin fine liners. This one's a 0.3mm and just my standard selection of watercolours. And I try and just get the sketch and the watercolours done in 10 minutes. And we see what we learn from that. And today we've got this interesting scene up here. Again, it's a photo from my hometown. We've got that moody sky and some sort of bold houses in the back. So let's have a little think as we're sketching about how we're going to handle that. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and start. Now, having said about all this other boldness, I'm going to start with the light in the image, which is going to be this house on the front on the right. And it's got a little bit of perspective, so just map that in. Got these funny windows as well in the roof, so I'm going to get those in intriguingly before I do the roof line. The reason for that is if you look, that roof line sort of cuts right through the middle of them and sort of cuts at the top of them. So by popping those windows in first, I'm able just to sort of get the scale right. Got the chimney in here. And then it sort of comes down and leaves the edge of the page, doesn't it? And just get this whole foreground line in. There's a lot of interesting detail going on in the front. So it's got this hedgerow, hasn't it? So let's get that and then bring the hedgerow straight into the door. You can already get a bit of tone and a bit of shape in the door with some up and down line work. And then bring this mini hedgerow to a sort of natural conclusion over here. Little gate as well, and then just a wall with a almost corrugated looking top. And like unusually for me, let's in these challenges I don't often go for much detail, but why don't we just see what we can do if we just rapidly get out a little bit of extra detail. So I've done a video about windows. You can very quickly get quite a convincing window just between the outside, the inside, and then a few touches suggesting the inner framework. Check out that video if you want to. It's in my sort of tips and tricks playlist. And a little bit of external suggestions of shadow as well helps a lot. Do the same for the door. Just get a little bit of extra detail in there. And maybe some steps just coming down, bringing it to the same level. I'm going to do the same, of course, for these windows up here. And let's just get some fun little brick textures in. I'm very aware in this sort of 10 minutes challenge, we're spending a long time on this building, but it's right in that focal point, and it's the light of our image. So let's see how this experiment works. Can even do a bit more detail and texture in our roof here. And then we need to contextualize it, so let's get this pavement. It's really big, just pavement coming all the way around. And then we've got this road sign. Now I'm going to turn the road sign around so that we can potentially add some colour to it when we get there. Okay. So how are we doing? So that's about 3 minutes of sketching done. So what we're going to achieve in the next couple of minutes? Well, we've got a bit of perspective on this row of houses as well. I'm just going to have to do a little check how narrow this road is. It can often be misleading just how narrow these roads can be when you're looking at them in this angle. And then where does it end, this row of houses? And do we need to get the pavement in as well? So we've got these parallel lines for the pavement and the edge of the road, the curb. And then just start mapping in some of these end shapes. And we've got another hedge. So already we're thinking about the colours. We know we're going to have the same sort of colours here and here, which is good. Keeps things unified. Another little house just creeping in. We can apply some of this window detail as well. We're getting nice and loose, losing detail as we get off the edge there. And we've got another sort of in the middle, another chimney. And then again, what's the angle of this roof? And you can see things have moved a little bit. So I've moved this sign and doing a quick sketch, so we're not measuring perfectly, but we've still got the essence of the place, and that's what's important. Well, even the essence of the place isn't necessarily important, as long as you're sort of sketching the way you want to and having a bit of fun. That's definitely what these little challenges are about. Oh, so you've got a window and a door, window, door, window, door, window, door. I'm trying to follow a bit of perspective with those and have them shrink as they move away from me. And then just line up some suggestions of windows as we go here. And just putting a sort of set of textures going up, giving a base to all of this, so it's not just floating. And we can add in these road markings as well, because again that just shows us more about what's happening as we go round this corner. And I think that's not bad for about a 5-minute sketch. So now we have to have a little think about our colours. So let's try something quite murky in this sky. We'll get an indigo, or another dark blue, perhaps even an ultramarine, plus a little bit of something brown. I'm going to add some quinacridone sienna, so you could try an ultramarine and a burnt sienna or something similar. Get a sort of neutralish blue, even a Payne's grey could be fun. And let's just block in some shapes and just think about the perspective of those clouds. Do you see how it's all, there's sort of lines coming down like this? And they sort of float into here, don't they? And now there are some blues in there as well, so let's get some cobalt and just nudge some cobalt in a couple of places and into some of these clouds as well. Now we're going to come back and I'm going to mostly clean and dry my brush. You can see how it's sort of a bit damp, but look how malleable it is. And then we can always blend. We can move, we've dropped that pigment, because we've dropped the pigment in with a lot of water, we can blend things and get that kind of depth of colour. A few of these edges we can make sure they remain. And in a few seconds we've got this dramatic overcast sky. Right, I'm going to use this same sky as well. These colours, which are now on my brush, very much on my brush. And they're going to come down and just join things up. And all of this is in shadow as well, so you can even sort of almost dry brush those same colours and get those shadows. And let's just pick up a bit more of our murky colour and just get those shadows in all over. So wherever you think there might be shadows, we can just start popping them down. There we go, so already we've got a whole load of shape. And we just need to start now, and we've got a couple of minutes, thinking how can we bring it to life with some pops of colour. Well, let's get a nice punchy red, and let's pop that in some roofs, for example. And maybe in this closer roof we just make it a little bit of brighter. Oh, there we go, a bit warmer with some yellow and some quinacridone. Just going to do the same, just pop it in a few places. Then we can come back and we can just blend it and move it. I love what it's doing here, so I'm going to let it do that in a couple of other places just to merge. Okay. And again, let's just use those same colours to bring out some textures in other places. This door's a sort of off grey, so let's give that door a bit of tone, and we can unify this as well. We've got these greens we were talking about, which are perhaps little punches of colour as well. And again, a little bit of blending, just move those around. And then, have I got enough time? Yeah, I've got 1 more minute left, I think. So we're going to use some of these same murky colours we used earlier. And let's get these windows in. So windows tend to reflect the sky. So you've got the same kind of tones in the windows. They don't always reflect the sky, they might be reflecting the building opposite, or a lot of different things, but it's a nice way of, just a simple way of thinking about them, especially for an easy sketch like this. We could touch a bit of blue in a couple of these windows because there is blue in the sky. Just little punches of colour again. Creates a bit more variation. And I'm just going to soften this roof, which I added. Bring that shadow down. And if I've got enough time, you can start just getting some of these other shadows, and let's make this fence green. And I may be cheating now, but let's get some yellow just dotted around for a bit of warmth on these various road markings. And there we go. So that is a 10-minute challenge. I think I may have just been over, but give or take, that's a 10-minute challenge. So I'm going to sign it. As ever, we'll let it dry, see what it looks like, and see if a couple of touches can sort of elevate it. But already we've got some fun, dramatic stuff going on in the sky. We've done lots of blending of colours and getting nice shadows. So lots of interesting things going on. Let's see in a couple of minutes what it looks like. Okay, so things are pretty much dry. This is what it looks like now. But I think there's a couple of things, as ever, the couple of little things we can do which will just lift it a bit more. And one of the things I wanted to do is get lots of light here, and I've lost a bit of the shadow over here which would really emphasise that light. So I'm going to go bold and just really go for it on this shadow and bring that shadow as well across the street, leaving little bits of light coming through just to imply these changes in texture. Bring round there, and then just use a couple of fine touches to even more enhance some of that shadow, and just make differentials between different places, for example. And we can do a couple of bold bits of shadow up in this roof as well. And there we go. So we're starting just to get a little bit more of the impression of this kind of unified shadow. We can use a bit of blue or something in this sign just to pull it apart as well, since we went to all the trouble of moving it around. And maybe we want to touch a bit more sort of texture in these roofs just by tiny flecks of colour. Even in this one, this was a bit more of a warm colour, but no harm in just popping some of these lovely warm colours up there and seeing what happens. Maybe we want to bring out a little bit, even though it's supposed to be the light, doesn't mean we can't put colour on it. It's just a little bit of touches of colour just in this building. And if we vary that wash, suddenly we've got some of these textures coming out, haven't we? And again, we can just use the same on the side. Of course, it will have the same brickwork on the side, it's just appears a bit different because of the shadow. And then we can also, if we just mellow down this green a bit with some brown, we can get a little bit of shape just in some of these hedges. We can wash that in, get some texture into it. Now, having done all of that, the next thing which might be interesting to do would be to add just a couple of textural lines. So perhaps we take a sort of neutral colour, so a bit of the muck here in my palette, and we can start just going, this is going to have some texture, this is going to have some texture. bit of extra shadow here. We can always find more things to do, but we need to know as well when to just stop when we've done plenty and anything extra is pointless or perhaps even damaging. And with that thought in mind, that will be my last bit of colour. But I hope you can see that this depth of shadow really lifts the light here. So it's difficult to achieve with the first wash. I probably could have done a better job with my first wash to achieve that, but it is difficult to achieve. But now we've really done it. This punchy colour, it's standing out from the sky. If you squint your eyes and look at the image above, you can see that really the punchy colour, the tone here, the value here is much higher than in the sky. So that all makes sense now. And it's really lifting this building forward. We can do a tiny bit more with our pen, just to lift this building even further forward. Let's pop a nice bold outline. Now we don't have to go everywhere with the outline, so we can just pick a few places. The front of the building, so that comes forward the most. A couple of key sort of frames. A little bit of texture under some of these windows. And that's about it, I think. So there you go, that is another 10-minute challenge, showing how a first wash can achieve quite a bit, and then we can really enhance it with a second wash and tiny bit of extra pen work. And this is what the final bit of scribbling and washing looks like. So look, I hope you've enjoyed that. Please do let me know what you think of the sketch, the process. Did you have fun with it? And feel free to share on Instagram with me if you've done something yourself as well. And thank you as ever for watching. Every watch, like and comment is a huge support to me, so thank you very much.